Grey's Anatomy has gained a reputation for killing some of its most beloved characters off with incredibly emotional deaths, and even main characters aren't safe. Grey's Anatomy follows the basic premise of medical dramas. It focuses on the lives of surgical interns, residents, and attendings as they balance their professional and personal lives, which more often than not overlap. Meredith Grey leads the cast, but many other main characters became fan favorites and have survived Grey's Anatomy's 20-season-plus run. Grey's Anatomy has become infamous for killing characters when their time on the show is over, though. Unfortunately, many of the main characters who were killed off were long-term presences viewers had come to know and love over the years. 11. Denny Duquette died after a heart transplant. Season 2, Episode 27, Losing My Religion. JDM as Denny smiling in the hospital bed in Grey's Anatomy. There were several deaths in Grey's Anatomy Season 2, and the most tragic was that of Denny Duquette. He was the first major recurring character to be killed off. While a patient, he was also someone who spent a great deal of time at the hospital. He got to know Izzy, and the two fell in love. However, this led to Izzy doing something morally questionable, resulting in Denny's death. Denny needed a heart transplant, and he was waiting for a donor. Izzy decided she wanted to help him get his new heart. Izzy cut his LVAD wire and made his heart look worse than it was. Consequently, he shot up the transplant list and got his heart. Sadly, just hours after getting surgery, Denny had a stroke and died. Izzy had to live with this decision for the rest of her time on the show. Her having to live with that decision actually made Denny's death hit fans harder. Watching Izzy grieve Denny while finding out she had a brain tumor that was making her hallucinate him made the experience even more difficult. 10. Meredith's parents died on Grey's Anatomy. Season 3, Episode 17, Some Kind of Miracle, and Season 15, Episode 11, The Winner Takes It All. A split image of Thatcher and Ellis smiling in Grey's Anatomy. Meredith is at the center of Grey's Anatomy's story. While the show eventually became more of an ensemble affair, Meredith was still one of the most important characters. So, her home life was also important, including the loss of her parents. Her mother, Ellis Grey, died in Season 3. She was somewhat of an antagonist, but was still Meredith's mom. When her battle with Alzheimer's ended, it was incredibly emotional. Meredith's dad died many years later, with his death coming in Grey's Anatomy Season 15. Thatcher Grey also had a rough relationship with his daughter, and they never really had a chance to reconcile. By the time Meredith got to know her sister, Lexi, she had finally started to mend the relationship with her dad. Meredith then went to see him, and he died after a final conversation with her. Their deaths were seen as logical steps in growing up. Most children outlive their parents, and as Meredith aged, it would be natural for her parents to die even while she married, had children, and thrived. Their losses were emotional for the audience and critics because they were losses that helped Meredith to grow. 9. George O'Malley died after getting hit by a bus. Season 6, Episode 1, Good Morning. T.R. Knight as George O'Malley in Grey's Anatomy Season 5 Episode 24. George O'Malley's demise was quite tragic. George struggled to find his path, and when he seemed to have finally found it as a trauma surgeon, he suddenly decided to enlist in the army. Richard Webber gave him the last day off to spend time with his family. But on his way home, George jumped in front of a bus to save a woman's life. George was left severely disfigured, to the point where the doctors couldn't recognize him. It wasn't until he traced 007 on Meredith's hand that they knew who they were trying to save. Unfortunately, George's brain swelled during surgery, and he was declared brain dead, becoming the first major character to die on Grey's Anatomy. Behind the scenes, Knight left Grey's Anatomy due to a gradual breakdown of communication. Rhimes reportedly discouraged him from coming out, and he wasn't comfortable with where George's story was going. Knight returned as George in Grey's Anatomy Season 17 during Meredith's hallucinations, though. George's death in Grey's Anatomy Season 6 was the first to hit the audience the hardest. He was a character who was genuinely missed as he was a core member of the group of friends at the center of the show. 8. Reed Adamson, Dr. Charles Percy, and Mary Portman died in a hospital shooting. Season 6, Episodes 23-24, Sanctuary, and Death and All His Friends. Since Grey's Anatomy is a melodrama, many excessive incidents happen at the hospital. This included the Grey's Anatomy Season 6 finale, which remains the show's highest-rated episode. The episodes Sanctuary and Death and All His Friends focused on an active shooter situation in the hospital. Reed Adamson was fatally shot, followed promptly by Alex Karev, though he was only wounded. Charles Percy also took a bullet, dying in the second episode of the two-parter. What some fans might not remember, though, is that Mandy Moore was also in this Grey's Anatomy finale, playing a character named Mary Portman. Mary is a woman who needed a colostomy reversal and a blood transfusion. Sadly, a man named Gary Clark stormed into the hospital as an active shooter during Mary's time there. He found the room they were in, and he fatally shot Dr. Percy. Mary ended up returning to the hospital for her surgery later, but she died during the procedure. The season 6 finale of the series was lauded for its acting and writing. Entertainment Weekly said of the episode's deaths were largely glossed over by critics and fans in favor of paying attention to the emotional storylines for Meredith, Christina, and Bailey. The acting of the series regulars who survived the shooting was the thing that critics and fans alike remembered. At the time, Meredith's plea for the shooter to shoot her was lauded as the best scene of Grey's Anatomy so far. 7. Henry Burton died due to a heart tumor. Season 8, Episode 10, Suddenly. Henry Burton in a hospital bed in Grey's Anatomy. Scott Foley starred in Grey's Anatomy as Henry Burton. He needed a heart transplant, but he had no insurance. This caused one of the more controversial storylines on the show, as Dr. Teddy Altman married Henry so that he could be on her health insurance. While this could cause problems later due to insurance fraud, the two ended up falling in love and became a real couple. This made things heartbreaking when he ended up being rushed into surgery later. Dr. Christina Young performed the surgery to try to save his life, but she couldn't, and Henry died. This was especially heartbreaking as the Grey's Anatomy episode showed Teddy in the morgue breaking down over his body, as she lost him just as she began to love him. 6. Lexi Gray died in a plane crash. Season 8, Episode 24, Flight. Chyla Lee as Lexi Gray in Grey's Anatomy. Image via ABC. Meredith's half-sister, Lexi Gray, died during one of Grey's Anatomy's most traumatic accidents. In Season 8, Meredith, Derek Shepherd, Christina Young, Mark Sloan, Arizona Robbins, and Lexi were on their way to assist with the surgery of conjoined twins at a Boise hospital when their plane crashed. Lexi was crushed by a piece of the plane, injuring her pelvis, legs, and left arm. She died minutes after being found.